Estes, your future looks bright and beautiful. The Massage Envy brand is focused on helping people not only feel their best, but also look their best. Would you like the opportunity to make a positive difference in your clients' lives every day while growing your career in a supportive, nurturing environment? Join a welcoming team of like-minded professionals at a Massage Envy franchised location near you. Visit massageenvy.com/SDcareers for more details and to apply today. Tizo introduces 2 new photoceutical treatments infused with antioxidants and rich in benefit ingredients designed to restore and rejuvenate skin. Perfecting Face Cream is a nourishing, multitasking rejuvenator in a feather-light, silky cream, ideal for all skin types. Restorative Sleeping Mask hydrates and soothes instantly while supporting the skin barrier and fighting free radical damage. Both are 100% free of dyes, fragrances, oils, and parabens. For a limited time, enjoy our introductory offer for professionals. Buy 3 and get 1 free, mix and match. Available through TizoPro.com.
Hello and welcome to ASCP Esty Talk. I'm Ella Cressman, a licensed esthetician, forever student of the skin, and content contributor for Associated Skincare Professionals.
I'm Maggie Staszcuk, licensed esthetician and ASCP's program director.
We're going to have a fun episode today, and I'm really excited because it's all about generational gaps, and not just in age, but in how we became estheticians. Maggie and I entered this industry as Gen Xers. We're going to pull her in with us. And it was really a totally different world. It was pre-pandemic education even, hands-on classrooms, and a business model that usually meant working for someone else before we ever thought about owning our own practice. But today, our guest, Kiarra Smith, represents the newest wave of estheticians, and that is Gen Z, who went to school after COVID, built her professional identity online, and stepped into entrepreneurship almost immediately. Same license, same industry, completely different starting lines. Maggie, are you excited?
Yeah, I'm really interested to hear what Kiarra has to share with us.
We're diving into what it really means from post-COVID education and learning styles to online presence versus treatment room presence. This isn't about who did it better. It's about how the industry changed and what we can learn from each other when different generations sit at the same table. Welcome, Kiarra.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're not really new to the podcast because I've talked about you. You got a shout out and I always mention you, but I'm happy that you're on to share your experience. So for listeners, and Maggie knows this too, really what I love about sharing space with you is that we get to talk and bounce ideas off of each other. And I really value your insight and such, but our experiences are totally different also from Maggie. So you entered into this industry, into a post-COVID world. So tell us, when did you go to school?
I went to school in 2021, 2022. So this was kind of right after COVID when we were transitioning back to new normal, I guess you would say.
Yeah. What made you want to be an esthetician?
Esthetician school or cosmetology was kind of always on the back burner. After I graduated high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I went into nannying, and I got into a role as a behavioral therapist for kids with autism. So I did that for 5 years. And I think during that time of COVID, I don't know if you guys agree, but it was kind of a realization for everybody, what do I want to do with my life? The world shut down. So what am I going to do when it gets back to normal? And I just thought, I wanted to go back to school, and I've always been in a role that serviced others. So I kind of wanted to transition out of being an ABA and going and helping people with their skin. And I was drawn more to skin rather than hair for cosmetology.
So a servant heart, but in a pretty way.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. So you got into the industry post-COVID, in that post-COVID world. How do you think that shaped the way you learned skincare and what you expected from this career compared to how we were trained?
I think going into school after COVID was definitely a unique experience because we just got done wearing masks and being really crucial on our sanitation and just living life that way. So going into school, safety was a huge focus for us for hygiene and sanitizing everything, how we interacted with clients. I feel like it was a little bit hands off, I guess you could say. We just had to keep in mindset of being safe with our clients. And I think, during when you guys went to school, you guys didn't have a huge pandemic,
Did you find that as clients were coming into the student clinic, were they leery of being treated by students because you were a student or because COVID had just occurred?
Mm-hmm. I think it was a little bit of both. But at the same time, if you're coming into a school, you're kind of expecting to be with a student. But I would say they definitely were, I would say, a little bit of fear in terms of, somebody's touching your face and you're in a room there's a big turnover with a bunch of people throughout the day, not just in my classroom, but the daytime students as well.
Yeah, Ella and I have talked before about the kinds of hands-on experience that we got when we went through school. And it wasn't much. There weren't people that booked the student clinic often. I mean, really, we were just practicing on ourselves all day long, or, we brought our mom in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you guys still had clients coming in, but I think with our school that it was not popular, not like the clients weren't seeking out those same kind of services, and the profession wasn't as well known or well understood, I think. You know what else was interesting too? When we went to school, I think we went to school before MySpace.
Yeah.
Do you know what MySpace is?
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
So really that was just like I remember like just starting out as an esthetician and having my top 8 or whatever. But it wasn't like as integrated into our daily lives as it was before. But how did social media, it definitely wasn't talked about in school. Was it talked about when you went to school?
Yeah, it was brought up a lot. And, post-COVID, we also had a lot of online learning opportunities for virtual days, which I don't think you guys had at all. Sorry.
No.
Not to be like back in your day, but
we had a book and we opened it and made a sound.
Yeah, they actually encouraged us to. I remember an assignment of ours was to create a business account while we were in school, so we can post on it and we can get people to book through us that way, so we can meet our quotas.
That's interesting. So for you, how important is having an online presence compared to being strong in the treatment room? And do you feel pressure to balance both?
I think having an online presence as well as being in the treatment room is important in today's society. I always think like still having the exceptional skill sets of how to work with a client and being in that treatment room is really important. That's the fundamental to your business. That's you're physically healing somebody. You're physically putting your hands on somebody and looking at their skin that way versus doing something online. You're not getting that quality time face to face with somebody. So I think being in the treatment room is really important. It's the core of your business. However, in today's world, I think a strong online presence is really important too, because that's the way that somebody is seeing your results. It's educating potential clients. It's building your brand. And we live in a society that's such a see it to believe it. So I think that's really important too, because for example, if we want a restaurant, we look online or TikTok it and look at the reviews just as much as if we listen to word of mouth of, oh, hey, this is a great restaurant,
Maggie, how do you find a restaurant?
I TikTok it, Ella.
Do you TikTok it? Yeah. No, that's something that was interesting that Kiarra told me the other day. She says she goes to TikTok to look up a restaurant. Then she goes to Google. And I was like, I'm just done. I can't. I asked somebody.
Yeah.
I roll the dice and see if it's good or not,
Yeah, for real. How many people in your class or when you were in school had the mindset that I'm going to school and then I graduate and I'm opening my business?
Honestly, I don't think a lot of us talked about that that wasn't a route that was really suggested for us. Obviously, it was brought up, but it was more so like going into a salon and working for somebody. I can tell you now from graduating, it's me and one other person that are a small business, and a couple just work for people. So for us, it was a really small group.
Were you encouraged to consider self-employment?
I think it was brought up. I think that was a part of a curriculum, an avenue that you can go down. I don't necessarily think we learned about the backside of the businesses, like how you can really succeed as a small business. It was more of creating like a fun, what would your spa look like? What would your services look like? And the aesthetic of it. And it was very surface level.
Isn't that an interesting point, Maggie? Like, what would your business look like? And do you think, and both of you guys, do you think this influences the expectation of the students entering the workforce, the licensed professionals coming in, that it's just so easy breezy and all you need is a social media presence and uplighting and you're good? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think coming into this field, everything is so like aesthetically pleasing. I mean, all over social media, you see like these beautiful treatment rooms, but the reality is when you first start out, it's what am I going to have for my bed? What am I going to have for my towel warmers? Like it's the essentials that you want in the treatment room. And I'm sure you guys can agree, like when you first started out, it was very minimal. And then you added on to the aesthetic of your treatment room. So I think it's people coming in and all over TikTok and Instagram and social media now. It's just these beautiful day in the lives that people post, and there's nothing really being talked about. Like, how do you get there?
I think that building on Kiarra's point, the administrators and the educators who are teaching this industry at the heart are artists. They're not business people. And so to think about it from the aesthetic perspective makes sense. And we can all relate to that as estheticians. We're not thinking about the numbers and the data. We're thinking about, is this pretty? Does my client feel good? How am I nurturing them? How am I nurturing my space? And so when business is quote unquote taught, it's not really the business. It's, is your space pretty? How do you want to make it look? What do you want your menu to be? How are you going to make your client feel good?
Mm-hmm. I remember doing that and making like a diorama in a shoebox of what my spa looked like. FYI, it doesn't look anything like that now, but it was very much the aesthetic, the facade of it, and not like the things that you have to consider, like inventory management, like like your back bar ROI, what are you getting there? Instead, I just followed the brand that I signed up with, and I just really duplicated all of their protocols, put them on my menu, and like crossed my fingers and prayed, hoping that I was going to get something. And I think it's interesting too. We had a conversation about, it was just kind of like a short conversation too about social media and follows and prestige and what that means. And then also the conversion of that interaction online into clients. What is your experience?
I think there's so much pressure to be online. And I guess it's kind of like your status quo, like who you are versus like how often you're getting clients in from online. It's more of just how somebody's following you and just keeping up with you. And like I mentioned again, like the aesthetic of like your social media. I would say I don't have a lot of clients that come in from social media. It's more of just a presence of who I am and what is in my treatment room and my personality that people can see and kind of keep up with. And it's also a place, I think, outside of the professional title of mine that clients can kind of see like who I am as a person.
Do you think that's important?
I think it's very important. Yeah. We were always kind of like taught to be professional and keep it professional. But at the same time, I feel like I do so well with my clients being just as vulnerable as they are. And obviously keeping it professional. But I think we live in such a world where interaction and just exchanging vulnerability is important.
I had a thought recently about the different industries and online presence. I think there is a definite association with wanting to patronize a business based on their online, the way they show up online. The example of restaurants. I do see on my feeds like, oh, try this spot, try that spot. And it definitely makes me want to at least pursue it. And then recently I switched hairstylists, which was traumatic, but I was researching them and they pulled a Kiarra and go online on like, this was their Instagram to see. I read their menu, right? I went to their website and I was like, oh, I think this is the person I want. And then I noticed it was like, look at me here on this, social media link. So I clicked it and I was like, oh, no, that's not what I want. And then I went to the next one. Oh, that's not what I want. And I feel like those are visual or instant gratification things. I don't know that I would go to like my injector. Secret's out. I get a little Botox here and there. I wouldn't go to my injector base. I wouldn't seek out the Instagram. I wouldn't pick my OBGYN on Instagram, which people do. I would then instead.
What does that look like?
I'm not explaining it. I don't know. It happens. Like they'll go seek out, like, find one near, I don't know, a little bit deeper than a Google, I guess. I don't know. But they'll do that stuff. And I think with aesthetics, with corrective skincare, let's say corrective skincare or spa, like relaxing time, I am curious if online presence is because everyone else is doing it or because that's what we're supposed to do. But is it for gaining clients or is it for like a status among other professionals? Like who's following me? Mostly estheticians, not clients. What do you guys think?
I think it's both, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's both. And I think like what Kiarra was saying about just having that presence, having your personality out there, you're going to have people that are maybe going to Google for the reviews, but they're also checking the Instagram. Who is this person really? Whether it's true or not, they're reading into those images, gaining an understanding of this individual and deciding, do I really want to go see them or not?
Yeah, interesting. You moved into self-employment pretty quickly. Did working for yourself feel like it was a goal from the start, or did that come from what you saw online?
It wasn't necessarily something I saw online and thought like I have to do that, especially like when esthetician school really didn't push that avenue. I would say when I really wanted to become self-employed was an unfortunate like work experience after I graduated and got my license. And then I really sat with myself and I wanted that control over my career and I wanted the freedom to create the kind of experience I wanted for myself and for my clients. So it happened a lot sooner than I actually thought it was going to happen. But looking back, I'm really grateful that I just took the leap and I told myself like the worst that can happen is I fail, and I haven't. So I've been learning and growing and evolving. And I think that it's sometimes something that just crosses the street when it needs to happen,
And let me tell you, I'm super impressed with you as a business owner.
Thank you.
We had events, right? Independent. We work in the same space, but we have two separate businesses. I had an event early December 2025. And like a week or so later, you had an event. And the difference between our events was striking, especially because I was so proud of you as a business owner. She put together the best thing. It was games and it was ways to get new people's email address. And I was like, dang, I wish I would have done mine after. And then when it came to like checking people out, I was helping her with that. And it was, I'll use the word savage. It was savage that none of her family got a discount at all. It was like, no, this is my business.
Yeah.
You're taking my business serious. I was like, taking all kinds of notes for it. It was so funny. But so you're doing really, really well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
As social media and influencer culture are huge right now, Kiarra, how do you personally decide what feels authentic versus what feels performative in this industry?
Yeah, you're right. Social media is performative, and that's really tough to navigate. It's challenging to find a balance between showcasing my work and staying true to myself, and still focused on being present in the treatment room. For me, the key is to trust my intuition and be me and be honest. And I'm not an influencer, so I have to realize that too. And it's okay to do aesthetically pleasing things. Like I do like taking the pictures of, my treatments and my lash lifts and the videos and putting that together and being creative and having that freedom. But I just try to be mindful of what feels authentic or versus what feels kind of just going through the motions and what's trending and, what that person is doing or what they're sounding like. And it's just, there's so much pressure to that. And sometimes I feel guilty not posting to my social medias or feel like I'm quote unquote like lazy, but I'm not. And, I'm still in the treatment room doing all these treatments, but I'm just like, dang, I forgot to take a picture. And I'm like, I don't need to take a picture to solidify like I did a treatment.
Yeah.
I did a service.
You said that social media is important, but you don't feel like your clients are coming directly from social media.
Mm-hmm.
So like, where is the balance where social media lands and new clients are gained?
I feel like the balance for me is I think of like my Instagram as a part of like my digital diary, my digital portfolio. On my business page, you can have the option to click on my Instagram link. And I kind of just think of it as showcasing my work, like an artist displays it
A
wherever.
portfolio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, that's how my Instagram can be. But my clients, the majority of time are word to mouth, and I'm still handing out business cards, leaving business cards out and talking to people in person. I shout out to my husband because he really does a good job at helping marketing for me. So I think that's just a digital diary of my Instagram.
I think that's a really important note that you're saying how valuable there is in networking, word of mouth. You're still, pounding the streets, if you will, passing out business cards. And there's this outward voice, if you will, about, oh, social media, it's all about social media. You got to post. That's how you're going to build the business. And here we're hearing it firsthand that really it's still about making that connection with the individual.
Yeah, it is. And my dad also like owns his own business, and he doesn't have a website. He doesn't have social media. Like he gets his business from word of mouth. So I also really admire that for him too, especially because now like we're sitting here talking about social media and he's like, nope. And so I see that with him, and I understand that can happen for myself and for my business too. So, and it's still like interacting with people face to face and greeting somebody by name and knowing, who they are. And it can come so naturally to get clients that way. So
I feel like that has generationally stood the test of time, because that's how it was for me too. I printed flyers and put them on like door hangers,
right,
which was my social media.
Right.
It got 0 people. But definitely word of mouth is important.
Yeah.
I have a question for you though.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the biggest difference between you and me with how we practice?
I would say I've really learned that you can see clients day to day, and you can get them in the treatment room, get them what they need to get done, and then, send them on their way and like still have that time of like interaction and that peace that can come with just being in the treatment room and laying on the bed. And it made me realize like, okay, like I don't have to have these like 90-minute facials for every single one of my services. Like I can get my clients in and out of the door, and sometimes they prefer that too. And I would say like a difference between you and I also is you do a lot of your consultations still on paper and you keep them in the binders, versus for me, I have them all in my clients' portfolio on my booking system. So
Old school.
I love it though. It's like pen and paper.
Yeah,
I have to.
I draw pictures of what it looks like, and I don't know how to move out of that paper model
Right.
into something else. Like for the initial consultation, I feel it feels very clinical.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my little clipboard and I'm asking you questions, and I don't know how to move that into the digital space, but I'm working on it with my new software.
All you have to do is get an app, like an iPad or a tablet.
Don't say the I word. I know, right? I can still be clinical with my
they have the Apple pens, so you can still write.
I'm allergic. Cool. So from your perspective, what do you think Gen X estheticians misunderstand most about Gen Zs that are entering the field?
That's a great question. I think one of the biggest misunderstandings is maybe Gen Z entering the field is assuming that we're all just social media craze or we're trying to be over the top influencers. And I think the reality is a lot of Gen Z estheticians, and I'm Gen Z by a year. So
By a year?
by a year. But a lot of us are still genuinely eager to learn from Gen X and millennial estheticians. We value the experience and the tried and true techniques that come from years in this industry. And we understand that there's a lot to learn beyond what we see online. So perhaps some Gen X estheticians might underestimate our drive to learn the fundamentals, or they might assume that we're only into the latest trends. But a lot of us are still looking for like the mentorship and the guidance and the deeper understanding of skincare, and we're willing to learn. So I will say I'm especially grateful for what I've learned through my Gen X mentor.
Aw, thanks.
So I think just like the open communication is really big, that we're not all closed off.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And I think it's important as a crusty, rusty Esty to learn from the freshy Esties because I've learned a lot from you, and hopefully we'll talk about more later, but I've learned a lot from you. And I know Maggie and I learn a lot from the people that we are in contact with every day too.
And I would say too, like in the field, I think a lot of us that are new and fresher, we're a little bit more bold and speak our mind a lot more, I would say. And I think that's, something that is okay to do. I hear a lot of people online saying, they're not afraid to fire a client or to charge that no-show fee. And, I see a lot of people that are Gen X and millennials that, like a little timid. And that's something I'm learning too, especially people that are younger than me that are new estheticians. And they're like, nope, like 90% charge, you canceled, rescheduled. I don't care. Like you're still going to pay me. So
savage and no discount for family.
That's me, but that's as far as I'll go.
Nice. Now, listeners, we really want to hear from you. Are you a freshy Esty ready to tackle your own business and faithfully showcase that on social media? Or a crusty, rusty Esty trying to figure out the TikTok? Or somewhere in the middle of both? Reach out via Instagram, Facebook, or send us an email at getconnected@ascpskincare.com. We want to know all the details. In the meantime, thank you for listening to ASCP Esty Talk. For more information on this episode, or for ways to connect with Maggie or myself, or to learn more about ASCP, check out the show notes and stay tuned for the next episode of ASCP Esty Talk.